Game number one of the Western Conference Finals tonight in Minneapolis between the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Right now, the T-Wolves booked as a 4.5-point favorite on the FanDuel Sportsbook for the opening game of the WCF with a total that currently stands at 206 and a half. The atmosphere tonight in the Twin Cities is going to be absolutely electric. This is Minnesota's first trip to the Western Conference Finals in 2 decades, since 2004. Dallas was here just a few years ago, but trying to get to the NBA Finals for the first time in more than a decade. So much at stake in the opening game of this series. Who do you think ends up taking game number one?
Look, I told you, I'm going to lean towards the Dallas Mavericks and take the 4.5 points here. If we're taking a look at where the betting options are going at the FanDuel Sportsbook, you take a look at the stats, 54% of the bets on the spread are going towards the Minnesota Timberwolves. So it's a pretty nice split here. Nobody running away like 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 tickets here. You roughly have a 50-50 split, which is good. We'll see where it gets to game time. But it's hard, again, in game number one to get the feel of a brand new series based on what these two teams just came off of. And I'm sort of leaning towards the Mavericks. A little bit extra time. Didn't have the stress of a game number 7. The Timberwolves had the stress of a game number 7. Took down the reigning NBA champions here. Now they're coming back home. They should be comfortable in that environment. But I look at that price point and say to myself, I could see this game going both directions. A win for the Timberwolves and a win for the Mavericks. So if we're flipping that coin, I'm going to take the points here. I expect big performances out of Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. And I think maybe we get off to a slower start for the Minnesota Timberwolves. That's just the way I'm feeling it for game number one here, Ben.
Yeah, I think it's a good look, DRS, just to think the Mavericks, who have had a day more off and that rest advantage since Saturday night in Dallas, have made the trip to Minneapolis. They are set. They are ready to go. How does momentum carry over from a road victory in a Game 7 to get back to Minneapolis? I'm not sure that I can say this, but of course, when Charles Barkley mentioned to Anthony Edwards that he hadn't been to Minnesota in 20 years, and Anthony Edwards said, bring your ass, well, everybody is making their way to the Twin Cities. Hope that did not cause an FCC fine for this lovely SportsGrid network. DRS, as we look at the trends of this game on either side, Dallas an underdog 4 times in this postseason so far, 3-1 straight up and against the spread. Dallas has won 2 road games in each of the first 2 series, in round 1 against the Clippers, in round 2, of course, against Oklahoma City. Minnesota has only been booked as a favorite at home, 5 home games now for the Timberwolves. They are both 3-2 straight up and against the number. How do you correlate the result tonight, DRS, to the total? If you think Dallas keeps this game within the number, maybe even steals game 1 outright as the underdog on the road, what does that do to the over-under in your estimation at 206 and a hook?
It's really hard because, again, we're looking at 2 teams coming in here, and I just want to take that environment where we don't know what we're going to get out of the Minnesota Timberwolves, which is really unfair to say. They've been a really good basketball team and just knocked out Denver, but I just feel like sometimes you feel like you got over that mountain, and then you look and be like, oh, no, Ben. I got 2 more mountains to climb over here before I can win an NBA championship, even though you just knocked out the reigning champions here. But for my money, the 206.5, and I've told you this before, and I'll stick with the same game plan. Early in the series, 2 teams feeling each other out, it tends to go over more. Not every possession is do or die like a Game 7 or a Game 6 we're looking to close out here. You don't know everybody's offensive sets just yet. By game number 3, coach is calling out, all right, run play 4. It's like, yeah, we know exactly what's going to happen here. Cat's going to swing to the corner. You're going to have Mike Conley up top. They're going to look for Anthony Edwards over here. And it's like, all right, we can stop that. Maybe you don't see those plays coming right off the bat. So I think it tends more towards an over, which technically would probably play into the Mavericks' hands at this point. When you're a great defensive ball club by Minnesota, yes, we understand they have great performance on offense too, but their calling card is defense here. This game goes over. It means Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving were on it tonight, Ben.
The Timberwolves went over in 3 of their first 4 games in that opening round sweep over Phoenix. But in the 4 wins against Denver, all 4 Timberwolves victories stayed under the number. 206.5 is that total. So let's look at the players that will impact the outcome tonight. I've already said multiple times it is my best bet. Spoiler alert, Anthony Edwards over 27.5. He has scored 27 plus in 7 of the 11 games for Minnesota throughout this postseason run. If they are going to win game 1 tonight, Ant is the reason why. Jaden McDaniels also catches my attention. Tied for a game-high 23 points in that Game 7 victory against the Denver Nuggets alongside Karl Anthony Towns. Jaden McDaniels, Anthony Edwards said during the All-Star break in Indianapolis when comparing to the best teams in the Western Conference and specifically referencing the Suns, said, sure, they got KD, but we got Jaden McDaniels. And I think he mentioned more for what McDaniels has done on the defensive end of the floor, but he has been great, and I mean great here in this postseason for the T-Wolves. Maybe the scoring not all that important for McDaniels tonight, as JY predicts, our coach, that Coach Chris Finch is going to line up for Minnesota, McDaniels to mark Luka Doncic.
Yeah, no, it makes some sense here, and we'll get those feelings out right away. So by games 2 and 3, we'll have a better feel in the series overall, wins and losses or from a side perspective. If I'm looking at some player props tonight to sort of dig into, Kyrie Irving and Karl Anthony Towns make some sense to me. I think they'll both be active from the three-point line. You could take 2 looks here. If you go Kyrie Irving over his 2.5 three-point shots and Karl Anthony Towns to make 2, that's about a plus 170 price. But if you want to dumb it down a little bit here, which I think makes a lot of sense, a minus 110 price here on a parlay. Kyrie Irving to make 2 3-point shots, along with Karl Anthony Towns to make 2 3-point shots. That's a minus 110 price. I really like that bet a lot. You're not going to get that sexy 3, 4, or 5-to-1 ticket, but it's an honest minus 110 here that I think cashes in.
P.J. Washington, a guy that was huge for Dallas in the middle of that second-round series against Oklahoma City. 21-plus in games 2 through 4. But in games 1, 5, and 6, 10 points or less. His points prop tonight, 12.5. We will see how much he needs to do from the offensive perspective to keep Dallas in this basketball game. 29.5 is the number for Luka Doncic, who has scored 29-plus in 6 of the 12 games for the Mavericks. Half of their playoff games, Luka has scored 29. In 5 of the 6 games scoring 29, Luka Doncic has made at least 4 threes. His 3-point prop tonight, 3.5. The over has plenty of plus money at plus 150. If you think Luka Doncic flirts with 30, he does so because he is good from 3-point range. I would also take the over at plus 150 of that 3-point number. Some further discussion around the Western Conference Finals and a best bet up next. The opening game of the Western Conference Finals tonight in Minnesota, the Timberwolves and the Mavericks. Donnie, you have said a few times you expect Dallas to ride some momentum from game number 6, and maybe some of the momentum back to Minneapolis for the T-Wolves is stemmed after game 7 in the Mile High City. You think Dallas keeps this game close, 4.5-point underdog if they're going to stay within that margin, maybe win this game outright, plus 158 on the money line. Plus 142 is the number for the Mavericks in the outright price to win the Western Conference crown over Minnesota, the series underdogs before game number 1. If Dallas does win game 1 tonight on the road, what does that do for your outlook on the WCF overall?
Look, I don't think it's like over, and obviously it shouldn't be if you're down 0-1, which is why sometimes you still have that thought process. Okay, what if Dallas does go in and steal game number 1 in Minnesota? I would expect Minnesota to win game number 2, and then we have an even series heading back to Dallas. That's why I won't be surprised. Also, theoretically, you can lose this game and still cover, but that's not really the angle that you want to play at 4.5. You can play that angle like you saw last night with Indiana. Hey, I don't think they win that basketball game, but I'll take the 10 points gladly here and see what happens. That worked out in spades. So I'm sort of looking at that same type of environment where Minnesota's on their home court, feeling good, won that game number 7. Dallas comes in with a really strong effort tonight, backed on their 2 superstars playing extremely well. That's just the vibe I have going for this game. I had a much better feel yesterday, as I told you. I really like that team total over for the Boston Celtics. This game giving me a little bit more, contemplation on which way I want to go, some more of that prop market style. But again, I'll go with the Dallas Mavericks with the 4.5 here.
So the series total games market is interesting. 5 and 7, second shortest at plus 226 is 2-1. In the correct score market, though, the Timberwolves to win this series in only 5 games, that's 4 games to 1, is plus 360, the shortest number, followed by Minnesota in 7 at 4-1. Probably baking in the idea of home court advantage. Don't love either of those prices. There is some heavy juice on the series games market, the over-under of games played in the Western Conference Finals at 5.5. The over has that vig at minus 175. I don't mind that juice, though, for a series that I believe goes either or at least to 6 games. it's hard for me to pinpoint who wins the series, but I don't think this is done in only 5. So that's game number 1 of the Western Conference Finals tonight. Again, Minnesota booked as a 4.5-point home favorite, total at 206.5. The Timberwolves have only been booked as a favorite this postseason at home, never more than 4 points. Tonight is actually the largest spread in their favor at 4.5.